Hello and welcome. I am Ethan or the E-Reader. This is season 1, episode 9 of the E-Reader podcast. Jeez, I'm already up to 9. Um okay, so you probably clicked on this video because it says is J.R.R. Tolkien worth it? And you're probably wondering, is Lord of the Rings worth it? Is The Hobbit worth it? And maybe his other books, The Silmarillion, are they really worth it? Is there other books that are better than his? And I'll first start by saying not all the things that people say about him are true. People always complain, oh, he's so boring, he's so detailed. To me, I didn't find that. He wasn't, maybe he describes a tree in a paragraph, but he does it in a wonderful way. He describes the elegance of that tree. It's not a boring, oh, it's so detailed, oh, it's so boring. No, it's an interesting description of a tree, even if the tree is important. So I'll have pros and cons to reading his books. Okay, so I'll start with a con. There are boring chapters. Okay, that I'll just start by saying that. The easiest way to get through those chapters are by skimming them. One of the most boring chapters in Lord of the Rings or the Fellowship of the Ring is called the Council of Elrond. That's one of the most boring chapters I've ever read it's probably the most boring book I've ever read. But that's fine because once you get past that, the rest of the book takes over the badness about that chapter or the boringness, and it transforms that good boredness into goodness. Yeah, and yes, I'll admit I don't remember a single word in that chapter, even though I read it a few months ago. But don't just skip it because there are information that I got from there. Um, but that's a con. He does have boring chapters. I don't know off the top of my head, but Hobbit does have a bit of boring chapters, and he's really into that world building. If he if that's another con. If you're not into really dense world building, then Lord of the Rings might not be for you, because l- even though you should try it out try out the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings is really dense world building, and he really goes deep into that with politics and all the different um places, I guess. Okay, so to recap, yes, there are boring chapters, but the majority are amazing chapters. He does have heavy world building, but from me, that is, and many other people who love Lord of the Rings, that's a thing they love about the series. That's, you know, so much about the world that it takes place in. Okay, now let's go to the pros. I should have started with the pros actually, but because I want lots of people to read the book. But these are the pros. These are what you're gonna get out of Lord of the Rings. These are the pros that are gonna make you read Lord of the Rings, and it's gonna become one of your favorite books. Maybe. Okay, so the pros of reading Lord of the Rings is, or sorry, not the pros. I shouldn't say pros, but the good things that are in Lord of the Rings is the friendships slash characters. The characters in the series are so good. You know, by page 100, depending on your version of the book, you know the characters so well, because not only does he have detailed world building, he has detailed characters. By the end of the first chapter, you know what kind of character Frodo is. You know who Bilbo Baggins is, even if you haven't even read The Hobbit. That's how good his writing is. Even Pippin and Mary, who you meet in the first chapter, you know how they are. You know how they act and how they are by the end of the first chapter, which is crazy for a book to do that. It's also a reason because the chapters are really long. But oh, that's another con. The chapters are quite long, but if you don't mind long chapters, or you don't mind chapters at all, then that's not really a problem. Also, chapters, it doesn't really matter if the chapters are long because you could just there's many breaks. If you've seen a book, they do like double enter like on a keyboard where there's like a space in between each paragraph instead of just paragraph after paragraph. So he has like each page I think he has a space. So those could act as your chapters if you want many short chapters because there are like say like 5 paragraphs and then a break. So that's that's another pro. Just segued that really well. That's a pro about the series. Really short breaks, so you can just read a page, end at a break, put your chapter in, and stop that reading right there. Okay, what was I talking about? Oh, characters. Characters really well done. I think I ended that. Um, and throughout the series, by the end of the Two Towers, you know the characters so well. It feels like you could go walk up to them and know everything, their personality, everything. Um, Another pro, which also could be a con depending on which side you fall on, is the amount of characters. There are 7 main characters, but there are many other side characters. Um, and for most people, that is really good things. They want to know a big cast of characters, so they have a diverse cast of people. I don't say diverse as if different genders and stuff. Um, but I'll get to genders later. Um, yeah, the diverse cast of there's dwarves, elves, humans, wizards, hobbits. You learn about the different races of people or human being or beings that live in Middle Earth. You learn so much about dwarves. You learn so much about hobbits. Yeah. So that is another pro or con, depending if you like that or not. Okay, so like I said, gender. There, if you like having girls and boys in books, this might not be the book for you. Keep in mind, it was written in 1945 or sometime around there, and there are no girls. There is one. There's one girl in the whole series, or two. There might be two. Um, but yeah. So if you there's I think it's called I don't there's a test for things and I don't remember. But no, it doesn't pass that test because it only the majority like 98% of the characters are all boys. So that is a con depending if you like boys or girls. Um yeah. And I think that's it. This video is really long, so sorry about that. But I really wanted to go in depth on what I like about Lord of the Rings and why you should read it or shouldn't read it. To me, everyone should read this book. At least try out The Hobbit, read The Hobbit, get through The Hobbit, work through it. Even if you're not like it, push through. Push as all the way to the end. And then by the end of The Hobbit, do you like his writing? Do you not like his writing? Push through one book and then maybe start Lord of the Rings. Even if you didn't like The Hobbit, start Lord of the Rings because it gets a book and maybe a bit depending on the person to get used to his writing. His writing is very unique. So I recommend doing that. Start with The Hobbit. Lots of people ask if they can start with the Lord of the Rings and skip The Hobbit. I mean, you can, but I don't recommend it. The Hobbit is an introduction to the whole Middle Earth world, and there are a few characters in The Hobbit that are in Lord of the Rings because The Hobbit takes place before Lord of the Rings. There are also connections between characters in like some a couple characters are cousins or uncles to other characters in Lord of the Rings. So I definitely recommend reading The Hobbit before, but it's not necessary. There's no just not really a need. You won't be confused at all. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I am Ethan, or the E-Reader. This has been Season 1, Episode 9 of the E-Reader podcast. Thanks for listening. This has been Is J.R.R. Tolkien worth it? And I say, yes.